Quickly, my name is Ibrahim Nalwala from Work 365. I'm going to be your host for this session. We're excited to have you here. It's going to be a 45-minute deep dive into the latest Microsoft partner updates and how they can help you finish the rest of the year strong. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. We recommend you use the GoToWebinar desktop app and not the web user interface. We will be recording the webinar and we'll share the recording and slides afterwards. Questions, please, we encourage your questions. Type them into the Q&A panel at any time. And hopefully, if we have time, we'll get into some questions as well. We're going to have some interactive poll questions for you during this session. So, it's meant to keep it engaging, give us a better sense of what you're looking for and who you are. So don't be shy. Just type your responses into that. It's anonymous, unless we ask you what your name is. And if you encounter any technical issues, just put it in the chat, and we'll try and address them. All right. So to kick things off, a quick introduction to Work 365. We're a CSP management and billing automation solution. We're used by both direct and indirect partners. We're built on Power Platform and Dynamics 365. Teams across your business, from finance to ops to licensing, use Work 365 to run, manage, and scale with peace of mind, flexibility, and control your entire business on your terms. We built Work 365 for the partner community. We work closely with Microsoft CSPs every day to tackle the real challenges of the program, right? Whether it's navigating license changes, price changes, complex billing, and making the most of Microsoft's incentives, promos. Our mission is to help partners simplify operations, save time, and improve the end customer experience. And that's why we host sessions like today to share practical insights and best practices and help you succeed and thrive in the ecosystem. Now, on to the main event, I guess. I'm thrilled to introduce our guest speaker, Katherine from 365 License Master. She's a seasoned expert with over 20 years of experience in the Microsoft reseller channel. She's worn many hats in that time, including executive roles at a Microsoft partner, and has developed an exceptional understanding of licensing, pricing, and promos. She became the go-to resource for colleagues when it came to deciphering Microsoft's licensing updates and incentive programs. And if you've ever felt like Microsoft license is a moving target, you're not alone. Katherine is exactly the kind of expert you want to hear from. She now leads a 365 License Master, a consulting firm that provides expert guidance to Microsoft partners. She is not coming at this from the outside, unlike some of her peers, right? She's got the war wounds from actually running a Microsoft partner business. She's been in the thick of it, which means she brings both strategic insight and real-world tactical know-how. And she's helping partners deal with the messy day-to-day stuff, right? Like right-sizing bombs, making sense of promos, leveraging the different resources Microsoft offers, and staying ahead of all the changes without losing your mind. And for me, this is kind of a big deal. It shows we're serious about supporting the ecosystem, not just with the software, but with real expertise that helps you partners grow, adapt, and win. And for us to both understand the challenges you experience and the opportunities ahead of you. So before we dive in, a quick overview of what we'll be covering. We're going to start with some strategic content, then we'll hand it off to Katherine to walk us through the detailed licensing and program updates. We'll cover the new performance standard from Microsoft for Direct CSPs that was announced in May. From there, we'll move on to the licensing guidance. We'll talk about promos, what's live right now, the readiness guide, resources. We'll follow that with a section on incentives, what's available, what's changing, how to make sure you're capturing the co-op funds and rebates you've earned. And finally, we'll walk through some practical tools and use cases, including a look at the Microsoft 365 feature matrix. And we'll also share a curated set of links, and we'll close it out with a live Q&A session. Before we get into the big topic, licensing changes, incentives, and what all of this means, I want to take a quick pulse check about, what is most on top of mind for you. So I'm going to launch the poll right now. Just give me a second. It should be showing up. Yeah, so just what's on top of mind, right? Is it staying compliant with the requirements? Are you looking to figure out incentives and co-op, growing revenue and margins, or just figure out what's recently changed? So take a couple of minutes to get some feedback. Good, we're getting that in. I'll let it run for another 10, 20 seconds. All right, I think we're good. I'm going to end the poll. So here's what I have. It's a mixed bag between growing revenue and margins. That's about 46%. And then staying compliant and maximizing incentives are the next two things. So that's good. So, Catherine, that's the sort of tone. It's revenue
Ah,
margins and staying compliant with Microsoft's requirements. Good. I'm going to end the poll.
those are great things. Those are great.
And good.
Well,
The one point.
yeah. Well, welcome everybody, and Ibrahim and Ismail, thank you so much for inviting me to join you. This really is. I'm excited to be part of your team and to share my knowledge back to the community. Just to let everybody know, I was with a pretty sizable partner for almost 20 years, and most of that was in a VP in marketing and sales role. And when we became a cloud partner in 2016, as an executive member, we split up the activities for Partner Center. So what stayed with me was licensing, pricing, subscription management, and incentives. So been doing that for many years. While I retired from that partner last year, I still have a desire to give back and share that knowledge. So that's why I'm here today. Um, so we wanted to start off with the new performance standards. Not sure everybody's seen this is coming out, but this is going to change dramatically for any smaller partners that maybe aren't reaching that 1 million threshold, and force them to go as an indirect model, which it may not be a bad thing. But it's definitely going to change the landscape for the direct partners who are below that 1 million threshold. So you're going to see things like compliance, the skilling, the support, and the billing. Are we still?
Yeah, and just to add to that, yeah, so the big one is, they moved the marker on. Yeah, they moved the marker on the revenue standard, right? It went from 300. I was doing a little bit of analysis when they announced it and compared it to Microsoft's cloud growth themselves. So Microsoft is exacting a higher standard of performance than they themselves have performed over these years. They grew at a clip of about 20%. The initial performance standard was 300K. Now it's moved to a million. So they expect, if a partner was at that threshold, to have grown at 29% year on year. A couple of some things that have stayed the same, right? ASFP was always required right from the get-go. I think the price of ASFP is increased a little bit, but that's still required. And even initially, right, the systems and tooling had to be in place so that uh, you were set up for scale and growth, and billing and provisioning was required, and that's what Work 365 sort of helps partners do. I'll move to the next slide. So I'll just talk about this for a couple of minutes. The revenue requirement, like we said, between direct and indirect, it's 1 million for direct. Indirect, you have to do $1,000 in trailing 12 months. The new one is solution partner designation. That is required. Like we spoke about billing and provisioning, security and compliance, there are higher requirements. Access to incentives, you get direct access to incentives if you're a direct CSP. As far whether if you're an indirect, it's limited. And some things that I just want to sort of share in terms of what we have seen is, indirect resellers still carry the responsibility of provisioning, billing, supporting their customers. And the difference for an indirect reseller is you're doing it on top of somebody else's infrastructure, right? It's the distributor's platform, distributor's pricing, their support policies. We've also seen indirect resellers who still buy SFP, right? Why? Because they want to maintain the same support experience their customers are used to. And so just because support is being provided by the distributor doesn't mean you're off the hook, right? You're still on the front lines. Your partner, your customers still expect that level of support. The other thing we're noticing is the hybrid model, right? We're seeing very large direct CSPs, so the revenue requirement is not an issue for them. They're meeting that all day, but they are they are working with distributors. It is strategic. It's sometimes based on different segments or on different clouds, or if they're getting into different regions. So I think it's to do with commercial flexibility, and incentives are not the only factor, right? The decision is much more than just that. It's autonomy. Others prefer indirect because of personal relationships and flexibility they get with their distributor, especially around deal structuring, credit, and onboarding. I'm going to do another poll to get a sense of the room, whether you're direct or indirect. Just give me a second. It should come up now on your screens. And we'll give this another 30, 40 seconds. And Catherine, basically, we're trying to find out how many are planning to stay direct, or are the scale to stay direct, how many will move to indirect. Um, they're already working with the distributor and staying that way. How many are exploring a hybrid approach, and people are still evaluating. Give it another 10 seconds, we'll see what happens. Got about 30, 40% of the votes in, so I'll just give it another 10 seconds. All right, I'm going to end the poll.
A lot of not sure there yet.
Sorry?
There's about a third not sure yet, so still evaluating,
Yes,
which I think
still
is fair.
evaluating. Which is fair, exactly. With this thing, yes, the results are we're scaling to stay direct is 33% of the audience, 11% planning to move to indirect, and be great to know why that is. Is it because of the revenue threshold, or because of the relationship with the disty? 22% are exploring a hybrid approach, and 33% are still not sure. And maybe some of these conversations, and if you could reach out to us, maybe we can help you with that. All right, thank you for participating in the poll. I'll move to the next slide. All right, Catherine, over to you.
Yeah, so a few topics we're going to cover today is we're going to hit on some of these items, but not in a lot of detail, just from a time perspective. But I will say that my agreement in working with Work 365 is that I will be for the Work 365 customers and partners, I will be available on their Yammer channel, so I can take questions and will respond as quickly as possible for any of this. But we'll talk. And we've got the licensing changes. We've got an overview of the licensing guides, of course, promotions, incentives, the global promo readiness, the incentive resources, including co-op, and then the Microsoft 365 feature matrix, and then a slide with all the quick links. Ibrahim, I was going to ask you on the quick links. Those will stay live after the event for anybody that needs to click on those, right? Like it doesn't turn to a PDF or something.
No, we share the PPT version, so it does stay live. Yes,
Okay, perfect,
at least
perfect.
the
Okay.
links. Yep.
All right, so the April licensing changes. This actually was announced late last year to be prepared for this. And I know from my experience and then checking back in with the partner that I worked for, because we had so many customers on annual terms, and some on triennial terms with monthly billing, that I knew it was going to be a big, heavy lift to be prepared to get to those customers before their subscription renewed. I believe for those running Work 365, that's already, you guys have already made that a part of your solution, right?
Yep, we did that. We released, so our PV version could always handle it. Our Dynamics version, we did a release for that. But just, but what we've noticed is while everybody did the lift, we are coming across partners that are still missing it. April was your first deadline to see a renewal where that price uplift would have gone into effect. And if you didn't action it, there would have been a 5% problem for you. And I think some partners might just be absorbing that hit for multiple reasons, right? It could be cash flow. But yeah, we did
Well,
address it with our 4.8 release.
yeah, and I've spoke to a few partners who, and we touched on this topic, and super frustrated because they just felt like they weren't getting enough information to be prepared for which customers were going to be renewing. So they knew that they were going to be absorbing that and trying to go back to their customer and get those prices increased, or moving them to an annual plan. But so I think depending on what partners did, it could be a big lift. That increase did not do anything for those customers already on an annual billing plan with annual or triennial terms. And certainly for the month to month that were already 20% higher, those weren't touched. There was an announcement about the 3-year subscription terms for the Microsoft 365 E5, E3, E5, and the term and the Teams Enterprise in CSP that's going to come live on June 1st, which I think is great. And then for those who have sold the Power BI Premium Capacity Plan, that is now called Microsoft Fabric. We can go to the next slide. So a few things to point out. These guides, which if you've looked at them, which I'm sure most of you have, they're massive. And trying to interpret them and understand all concepts, what I learned over the years was there are certain pages that we refer to all the time, and that I would tell our sales team when they kept asking some of the same questions. I would say, here, go to the licensing guide. It's on SharePoint, and go to this page. And it helped a lot to kind of believe that and push them to the information they used most often in their sales processes. The other thing was, we didn't do this a lot, and maybe I don't know how many people really know about this, and it is Business Central specific, but any of your customers who are running Business Central who have Microsoft 365, whether it's Business Standard or Premium, those licensed users on Microsoft 365 that are not currently licensed with a BC license, you can give them read-only access into the Business Central database on a permission base, but they can see that without having to buy additional licensing. But it saves a tremendous amount of time across an organization when you empower those 365 users to get access to the information that otherwise they'd be sending emails, making phone calls in order to support customers and whatever they needed. So this is a really cool feature that I'm not sure. I don't think at my partner we used it that often, and I think it's because it just got forgotten. But it is available. It's a cool feature.
No, that is cool, but a little tongue in cheek, it reduces the amount of revenue you could make. Now, I'm just joking, but no, it is good. That's the right sort of licensing which a partner should do. Should I move to the next slide, Catherine?
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about this is that it was one of those goodwill kind of things
Right.
with our customers. It's like, hey, we have this. There's this feature available to you, and I mean, team members are cheap. They're pretty inexpensive, but it still was a way of gaining a little bit of credibility with your customer when you told them about these additional things they may not know about. So, yeah, go to the next slide. This was one of the out of the Dynamics licensing guide that we used all the time. And I had to always remind our sales team of where to go get it, how to use it. But it also became a lot of conversations with end users and forcing our end users, especially ones where they had, 200 licensed users, it's like, and multiple Dynamics applications. It's like, how do we license them appropriately? So full license for this one with an attached license or teams. And this matrix, we use it all the time, and would review it with customers, because again, this is like a huge customer service aspect of being able to license your customers with the most efficient licensing model. So there's actually a lot to this. And sorry, I said use case scenario. It's not in this presentation, but anybody that wants it, I'm happy to send it to them. You can go to the next slide. And this is the information that is available on the Microsoft Fabric. So if it's an existing Power BI Premium, they would now buy the Microsoft Fabric, and that of course is in a pay-as-you-go or a reservation type billing method. But there's quite a bit of information about that as well for anybody that does sell that on a tenant base. And then the licensing guide and resources for Power Platform. Again, this is something that just takes you more deeper, and it's just more complex. But to understand what the qualifying application, the qualifying license, and what the limited use rights are included with that qualifying license, this is something that just takes a lot of conversation with customers to understand, and that you don't have to sell them the extra things that they already have licensed for. But again, it's complex, and it's understanding the terminology and using that portion of the guide to make sure that your team knows what customers have access to. This also brought up a question about internal use rights, which was something we're not going to go into in this meeting, but I know that's another kind of topic that partners may struggle with. And we've talked about that could be just a separate webinar or a separate meeting where we may help understanding your internal use rights.
Yeah, and that is very relevant for our customers because we're completely built on the Microsoft tech stack, right, Catherine? It's you need Power
Yep.
Platform and Power Pages. And while that used to be easy a few years ago because of gold, silver, and those competencies, now with solution designation and things, it's a little bit of a moving target. So I think it'd be relevant also being able to procure licenses as a partner, right? That's also a little bit of a challenge. How do we do that? So maybe we could have a subsequent session on what are the IURs, how do you figure out what the IURs are, if you need licenses for internal consumption, how do you go about buying them?
Yep.
But
I think
Catherine,
that
quick question here. So, in terms of good discipline, behavior, and hygiene, how would the sales team stay up on this? Is it when they're selling, or is it like on a monthly cadence basis where they're trying to stay up with all these resources? What is the right sort of behavior or guidance you'd have there?
I think when you are this kind of stuff, a lot of times, we're focused. Our business primarily was focused on selling the Dynamics 365 licenses, and it was a secondary conversation when we talked about things like the Power Apps, the Power Automate, and the Power Pages, because unless it became a part of the sales process, it's something that came up later for the actual account managers, and then
Yeah.
customers started saying, "Hey, how can we use this? How can we do that?" And then it would be like, "Hey, do you know that you already, there is some use rights because of your qualifying license?" So it came up. I wouldn't say it came up all the time, but when it did, it was a constant reminder to the sales team, "Hey, you need to go check the Power Platform Licensing Guide. Go to page 33 and 35 and look at what the customer currently owns in their qualifying license and what they currently have a limited use rights for."
Got it. We'll get into another poll just to get a sense of how, what partners are selling. Are they cross selling? Are they thinking about it more based on these new performance standards or going into the new year? Based on some other, I think, factors that we're seeing in terms of the limited white space around MWP, but and of course the challenge with getting the solution designations. So let me just launch that poll. It should be coming up right now. We didn't add Azure, but I think a lot of partners are doing Azure as well. Give it a few more seconds. We've only gotten 15% of the voting right now. All right, so I'll end the poll, and it looks like majority, 56%, both sell modern work and Dynamics. Like I said, we missed on the Azure question, but from us, from looking at our cohort and customers, Azure is really important. It's a big growth driver. You can look at Microsoft's numbers as well, and growing at a very fast clip. So Azure seems to continue to grow. And I think, of course, with Copilot and the way Copilot's billing is going to happen, I think that's another reason why Azure billing is going to be important. I'm going to end the poll and get back to the slides. All right, Catherine, all about promos and incentives.
Yeah, so again, we've got links on the link page. There's actually links on these other pages too, or on these slides, but there'll be a link to all of this. This is where I spent a tremendous amount of time going into these and making sure, because I would check these dates to make sure that I'm had seen something. Of course, something dated July 30th, probably wasn't as important to me, but keeping up with all of this is important. And there are so many of them. As you can see at the bottom of that screen, that page, all of the things there's all of those pages available. So it does give you quick access to tons of knowledge and tons of information. So we can go to the next slide. So the Global Promos Readiness Guide, it was republished on May 5th, and this is just a snapshot of some of them, but you can jump to each one of these pages, and there's certain elements of those pages that you want to pay attention to. So we'll go to the next slide. This is one for the Bridge to the Cloud, which the cool thing about the Bridge to the Cloud is it's not just Business Central specific anymore. When this one came out, the 2 came out, it meant we could take customers that were on-premise CRM, on-premise AX, or whatever, and take advantage of this. But the things to note here are the promotion summary, the duration, the geography, and of course, making sure that you're arming your team with the policies and the FAQs. Of course, the rest of this information is important too, but those are the things that I would point out to our team. Pay attention to this. And most of the time I was downloading these documents, putting them on SharePoint, keeping them current so that our team could see them. Go ahead and go to the next one as well. Ibrahim, I'm sorry. But this is, again, just a way of being able to quickly jump to each one of these and see all the information, click the links. And also, at the bottom of this one, you'll notice that there is a link to that Operations Promo Excel guide, which Ibrahim can probably explain how useful that document is too. I used it, but not as much as I used this one.
Yeah, but I think we can do another quick poll, right? Catherine, what is the difference between global and worldwide?
Yeah.
Yeah, the geography was global in the previous one. This one is worldwide. So I guess they're two different things. But yeah, more than so for Work 365 users, you'll know this, but we sort of surface the promo information right now in the application and in the way of work. So you can look at all the promotions that are running. You can search for a promo across a product. Then you can add that. If there is a promo, you can add that subscription to a customer. It calculates the right price. It keeps in mind all the exceptions, for example, size of the number of seats you can sell. So it's adhering to all these guidelines which are there in the promo, and it's all built into the application right now. So Work 365 does allow you to leverage promos and in the way of work, right? From adding a customer to adding a subscription, figuring out what promos are there, and then of course we'll do all of the billing from there with the right pricing.
Yeah, that was very cool. Ismail showed me that in your solution. I thought that was really cool. Again, just another example of another promo that you can jump to, and the links that are available when you get to these when you open up these individual slides. Go ahead. I put this one in here only because it's just kind of interesting. I thought that for anybody that recognizes CSP, that was a promo, the very first promo that was very similar to the Bridge to the Cloud. But this is one that was available early in 2020, and the partner that I was with, we probably put at least 120 of our partners of our customers on this program, but it did. So Microsoft did allow us to take because it was a 60% discount, and those customers rolling into the cloud solution and having to take a 60% increase was really big. So when this one came available, we could move some customers to this and give them a 40% for the next 3 years and give them an opportunity to keep moving forward. So you can go to the next slide. So as a VP of Sales Marketing, I was always having to review all the statements of work and any of our proposals for licensing. What became really important to me was verifying the eligibility by customer and making sure that even if in the statement of work one subscription was available, had a promo available, we'd want to make sure that we noted separately the end date and when that had to be ordered, giving us enough time to process it before the promo expired. But also, we could have been selling multiple applications. So even though our statements of work said they had a 30-day expiration date, that promo might expire sooner. So the other thing is, after we did that, in Partner Center, those promos were assigned automatically when the customer was eligible, which is awesome. Didn't apply to nonprofit, academic, or government unless that's specifically called out in the promo guide. And subscriptions will auto-renew during the term of the promo, but then auto-renew to list prices if you don't get in there and make changes to those prior to that renewal date or on that renewal date or whatever. So this just comes to me from running a sales team and making sure that we were covering all of this and taking care of the customer. So you can go to the next slide. Now the big one. I always thought it was kind of the big one because this is massive and it's there's a lot to it. And again, this incentive resources page is it's you need to have somebody on staff that's reviewing this information and is staying current with it because it does change quite a bit, but there's so much opportunity to earn incentives in many different ways. And then of course what comes with that is if you're eligible of meeting thresholds to actually get the co-op dollars, of which of course co-op dollars now need to be claimed and by certain approved expenses. So go ahead. So this is just a quick snapshot of eligibility and maybe the changes that are coming. So again, if you're a direct bill partner, we now have those changes that are coming up, and with that thresholds that you have to meet, and the same thing with the indirect too. That now they're going to have some few changes for that as well too, into those specific skilling and areas that they want you to be meeting requirements in order to earn incentives. So you can go to the next page. The thing about incentives too is there's a whole setup process at Partner Center. So you have to go through that incentive process and understand, who you're giving access to, all the control, all the incentives to see all of it. And then from my own experience, actually analyzing what incentives were given us was a real eye opener when I looked at all the various incentives and actually did an analysis of if we gave a small discount to win some business based on the incentives, here's where our margin was actually increased. by whatever we gave them, because we really weren't losing margin, because we wanted to take into consideration that we were making the incentives as well. Like for instance, that the 20% for the new customer ads, it's huge. So go to the next slide.
But Catherine, this is a fairly basic question because I don't understand this. Is did the incentives drive what your GTM is and how you were going to sell and how you're going to go, or was that something you had to capitalize on, and it was in the way of the way you did business? Did you look at
Um,
incentives and decide GTM? How did you do it?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because when you're so focused on sales, and the majority of your team's focused over there, but you've got this whole these resources available to you and incentives, and in some cases, earning additional incentives if you sell this product, but if you sell this one with it, you get this additional accelerator, or you make this additional amount. And so in some cases, it also meant that we'd get marketing involved, and we'd get marketing involved to try to push those additional applications so that we could make the additional incentives. So there is a way of kind of closing the loop within your organization and understanding all of this, but it's a lot of knowledge. And just from a layman terms, it's like explaining this to other executives and passing down that to our sales team. There's just a lot involved with it, but at the basic level, it's like just get signed up for incentives and earn them. And past that, then dig deeper and go into really what are the incentives for the products, and are there additional strategic accelerators like these. So yeah, there is a way to capitalize on this and take advantage of it, but it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, if anything, we learned once we became a cloud partner, and over time, as our business kept growing, we learned the need for more administrative support behind the scenes was just so much bigger to support all of this. So it becomes really important, because you've got to grow your staff in order to manage all of this. So you need to be able to take advantage of all the additional opportunities that Microsoft offers.
Got it. Should I move to the next slide?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Sorry. So this
Hey,
is
this
the
is
one that I was mentioning for the direct bill, the 20%. Oh my gosh, this one was fantastic. Our cloud business was growing dramatically, and this 20% is just huge. I mean, it increased our incentives so much. But keep in mind, you got to look down at the bottom at the earning type too. So 60% became in a rebate, that other 40% co-op. Now we needed to understand, how do we access the co-op, what kind of claims are going to be approved, and what can we get. And it's a lot. We never had a problem getting all of it, but there's also specific date ranges, and you have to meet those, and understand where the deadlines are, because if you miss the deadline for claiming co-op, you lose it. So depending on how much your rebates are and what the co-op part of that is, it could be pretty significant. And go to the next slide. And this is just an example of just one of the additional ways to earn incentives. There's many opportunities, but I will say that we found some of them were a lot of work to get back, not a lot of funds. So you have to create a process and in your company to where you've got somebody feeding the information to somebody that then processes these and puts them in and tracks them. But they can be good. This is another example of the needs assessment and paying attention to the market A, B, and C, and the numbers that come back from that. And some of them are easier than others, and some of them are just way too detail oriented, we found, for us, and just took too much overhead to try to get $1,500. So you can go ahead.
Yeah, and I can talk about this. So I think Catherine sort of spoke about incentives, spoke about what the different incentive plans they are, and then how do you get paid for it, right? You get rebates and co-op, and Catherine was talking about there are different activities you can do to be able to claim co-op. Some of them are intensive. There's lots of literature out there on the co-op claiming process. Quick, just a reminder, Work 365 is in the co-op guide, which means it's listed. It means you can apply co-op funds towards your Work 365 investment. It is categorized under demand generation and market development. So it's aligned with what Microsoft wants partners to do, right? Grow, scale, and automate. If you're already using Work 365, great. And if not, and you've got unused co-op funds, um, probably the easiest investment, right, to justify before the fiscal year close.
Yeah, that's very cool. And there is so much
Yeah.
available for co-op funds. I mean, we used them for just about everything we did in marketing to earn those co-op funds.
And that's why I'll just do a quick poll right now to see how the audience is claiming and using their co-op funds. Let me do another one quickly. It should be showing up on your screens. I'll give it another 10 seconds.
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to close the poll. And yeah, this is interesting. It's 56% use it for Work 365 or other tools, 44% use it for marketing and demand gen, 11% for trainings and certifications, 22% were not eligible but haven't used them. That's something you should work on, and we need to figure that out. And nobody's unsure whether we qualify. And I'll just speak to that, for a second, Catherine. Is initially when we sign up, talk to prospects, they'll always say, "Oh, our co-op funds are spoken for." Second year renewal, everybody uses Work 365 as the co-op claim, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah. All right, let's move to the next slide. Yeah, Catherine, this is a big announcement.
Yeah, this is a big announcement for those who maybe have not seen that yet, but this is going into effect on October 7th. And I found this was a constant for us too, was making sure the customers were either self-accepting in their admin portal, or for us getting their acceptance via email and then going into Partner Center into that customer account and marking that we got their acceptance. Um, but Microsoft's going to stop. They're going to block orders for new customers if this is not done. So this is not part of your standard process. But I would say go review the May 2025 announcements. There's a lot in there. You can go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I'll just speak to this, Catherine, because the API option is available. We will be working on streamlining this process within Works 365, so the MCA acceptance can be tracked more seamlessly. We'll help you flag exceptions, flag cases where it's not been done, and flag it so that you can take remedial action so that you can avoid losing out on orders and disrupting the customer experience. So we're aware of this and we'll be working on it.
Yeah, that's great. Okay,
All
so
right.
this is we mentioned this earlier, and for those who, and there's probably many people that are aware of this. Actually, this was something that I learned fairly new a few months ago from a colleague of mine who pointed out this feature matrix, and it's actually really cool. So when you're working with customers on the Microsoft 365, being able to use this matrix to see exactly feature by feature what they get with which license, I think is a really cool I would think this would be really useful. And I have sent this out to a few people in the company that I used to work for. Said, hey, if you guys don't know about this, check this out because I think this will help support um, for partners that are selling Dynamics and Modern Work. What we found was most of our business was Dynamics. Modern Work kind of came as an afterthought, just from a resource perspective and knowledge and education to be able to sell it and support it. But if you're not familiar with it, there is a link on the links page.
No, I think this is definitely a useful resource, especially for partners who are predominantly Dynamics, but now are becoming the CSP partner for their customers, need to sell MWP, understand it. So yeah, I think this is a fantastic resource. And I think this is another continuation of the resources, right? So we'll have, these are all the links that Katherine was referring to. We'll make them available to you. There'll be live links across pricing, co-op funds, uh, partner launch calendar. Do you want a quick note on that one, Katherine, on the partner launch calendars?
Yeah, the partner launch calendar, which by the way, I see that we have it twice in there, which the one at
Okay.
the bottom, yeah, they both work, but I did put it at the bottom. I forgot to delete it from where it copied to. Yeah, the partner launch calendar, that's again a really useful link to be able to see what's coming up. They try to, they too try to capture everything. So I use that one a lot as well too.
Great. And I think we're at the end of it. Excellent. We're slightly over time, so we'll try and wrap it up. Um, so, takeaways and next steps. If you've got questions, need to bounce something off, please post it on Yammer. The link is there. It's yammer.com/work365 apps. Of course, this is for our customers. If you need help with picking, whether you're going to go direct, hybrid, figure out which distributor to work with, need any of our insights, please reach out. We're happy to walk you through it on a one-on-one. For those of you already using Work 365 and wondering how to tie it up with your co-op strategy, yes, it's claimable, and yes, we'll help map it out. If you're new to all of this, you please use the resources and guides here. And lastly, Catherine, thank you so much for your time. Let me see actually if there are any questions, and if people are staying around, maybe we can answer them.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, There, I've got a question here. We are a branch location in Brazil. Our headquarters is in France, and globally we deal with over $50 million of TTM. But in Brazil we make lesser. Do we have to worry? And even our PBM seems lost in this question. I'm assuming PBM is the partner manager. Catherine, do you have a take on that? I do have a take, but I'll let you go first.
Um, I'm not sure I understood the question again.
So
Say it again.
the way they're set up is their trailing 12-month revenue has been 50 million, but
Okay.
in one region they're 300. So do they have to worry?
Yeah, so this is interesting. The partner that I worked with, we had a Canadian partner center and we had the US. And of course, the Canadian partner center was a completely different tenant, but we had to purchase for our Canadian partners in that particular partner center. But in the US partner center, when we would look at our incentives and everything, it was accumulated, and we could see by the different MPN IDs, whether it was Canada or whether it was US. So I would assume that because we had both of those MPN IDs in our US partner account, they were linked. Is that
Yeah,
what they're asking?
I think that's what they're asking, and I'll try and I don't know about the incentives. I think that you'll have to rely on an expert like Catherine. But as far as the performance standard, it rolls up to an organization level. So if it's one organization with multiple tenants, you're fine. So on the performance standard, I'm sure. I don't know about the incentives where they get rolled up, but what Catherine is saying is it should roll up if they're linked properly.
Yeah, they
And
they were they were rolled up.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was
Next, I think it's a comment. It'd be great to have a Copilot agent to automate the communication of automatic renewals and to determine which license term and billing frequency they would like to select. Chris, that's good feedback. We'll keep that in mind. We are trying to build some of that stuff out. So thank you. Um, and there are no more questions, so I'll just wrap up. We're over time anyways. Yeah, so like I said, questions, please put them up on Yammer. And lastly, this is just the beginning. We're rolling out, we want to do this consistently so that you can grow and thrive in the Microsoft ecosystem. Good luck to all of you and close out the year strong. And more sessions like this on the way. Catherine, thank you so much for your time and for all the information that you've shared. Um,
Yeah,
Thank you, everybody. We'll wrap it up.
thanks.